how are you?
Hi, Jocelyn. I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm in shock from my first guest. I've known Lori for a while, but I did not know the story she had just told me and how insane the city just to the south of me, where I go a lot, is totally out of control. They've got a mayor and counselor and entire departments that are absolutely feral and insane and getting tax-paying citizens arrested for literally nothing.
What city is it,
It's
Jocelyn?
Nashua, New Hampshire.
Wow.
Yeah. And we, Lori and I, we've since met up, and we've done some recounts, voting recounts that went horribly wrong. And we've got another friend, Paula, who I'm going to have on, because the recount was for her. It's insane. She's got even more stories of crime and money laundering and all this other stuff that would just make your hair curl. But my goodness, you have also a story. We all do, but yours is, I just want to hear from the beginning how you got involved in this, how it just, got your juices flowing, and you decided, this is not right, this is not good, I'm not going to put up with this. So take it away. You're with Operation Restoration, but you're going to give us the lead into that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm the co-founder of the People's Operation Restoration with Mickey Klon, and this is the fourth operation Mickey and I have done together. We did the nationwide walkout, Bonds for the Win, the People's Convoy, which was the largest movement in the nation since the March on Washington, and now the People's Operation Restoration, which is even now it's the largest grassroots movement in world history.
Fabulous! Congratulations! I sat in one of the Zoom meetings, and whoo, boy, you guys are on fire.
Yeah, it's so important. Even your previous guest, our court system is rotting from the inside. It is a crime syndicate. We are really a third world country now when it comes to that, and everything has been corporatized. I don't think people understand that every single court in the entire country has a Dun and Bradstreet number. And for anyone listening that doesn't understand what that is a number that corporations get when they trade, in the market. So we are being traded. So what I'm saying, full stop, to the audience is that every single one of us is being traded and human trafficked by our own government. They are trading bonds on us. The bond market is 10 times bigger than any other market in the world. And we also have Sesta KV trusts there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, that's, a wives' tale. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing. I can assure you it does. And I can direct everyone to the canon laws. And canon law is what governs our judges. Those are the rules that they have to abide by, though they don't.
Wink, wink. I was just going to say wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, they abide by whatever they feel like, which again just shows you what a crime syndicate they are. But canon number 4, sections 1, 2, and 3 states that no judge can sit on any bench or on any case that has any financial interest in any case, no matter how infinitesimal. And what I'm telling you is that because they're all trading bonds on you, they all have a financial interest in every single case. That makes every single hearing and court rendering absolutely null and void. It absolutely does. So.
Holy cow! Yeah. Well, it makes sense, because I was trying to figure out from friends and family and, and all the people I know, which is a lot. My husband's a police officer for 34 years, and he used to tell me things, and I was kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. I went into 911 for 12 years, and I was kind of like, oh, wait a minute. How did that just happen? Wait a minute. How did you do that? And a simple stop for lights out turns into, get out. We want, we think you're a DUI, or we think you were just murdered that person. You just hit and run a person down the road, when there's virtually no evidence. There's no body cam. There's no dash cam. There's just booking cams and videos. and you go to court and the prosecutor doesn't show up and everybody goes, oh, we're going to reset this court. And 4 months later, I'm hearing that finally they get their court hearing, and meanwhile they've had no license, or they had an ankle monitor, or I mean just a plethora of things. And you're like, where's the evidence? Where was the trial? Where's the due process? And there's zero.
Yeah. And even when you report it to the oversight bodies, the judiciary oversight commissions and stuff, they don't investigate anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a case that I know of in New Hampshire, and that's where you are, that a judge tampered with the docket. There was 2 tape versions of it, and he tampered with his version. They had the evidence, they sent it into the judiciary oversight, and they tried to take the lawyer's license away from him that reported it. I mean, that is extraordinary, and that is happening in your state. I think New Hampshire might have one of the most corrupt judiciaries in the nation, right up there with corrupt Colorado. And a few other states. I mean, some states are really more exceptional than others with the corruption. And I think New Hampshire is right up there.
I have to agree with you. I have a friend, Mike Gill, and people have mixed emotions about him, but the evidence that he comes with the corruption, I have a friend that did a, for lack of another word, a corruption map. It's grazing. Oh, I have to think of what it is. I can't think of what it is. It went out of my head. Anyway, she did this whole map of all the judges and courts and legislators and Ghislaine Maxwell and the Sununus. And she starts, it looks like a giant octopus, grazingthesurface.com. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for my, absolutely just brain freeze. So go there and you can look it up. It'd be a good one for you, but it shows the connections from everybody in this state to out of the state. It shows the connection to the courts. It shows the connections to the colleges. It shows the connections to the whole COVID, sex trafficking, human trafficking. It's mind-blowing. So when you say that, at this point, I'm not shocked with what I'm going through in federal court, trying to fight with my friend, what Lori is doing in state court. I mean, we have no redress of grievance. None. It's gone. We have nothing. We have no remedy. We have nothing. It's mind-boggling.
It is, and people's lives are destroyed. And we do have redress in that we, the people, do have the power, and we give 99% of our attention to the de facto, fake, false, phony government and courts that are masquerading around as officials and judges, and they are nothing. They're imposters. They're complete frauds, and they work for a corporation. They are not sworn to we the people. They are not there for us. We are in their house. So it's not our houses. Our tax dollars aren't paying for it. That's another misnomer. They get the money for that stuff in other places from our Sesta KV trusts. But so when we go into a town building and we say, oh, this is our house, this is, we pay for this. It's not, it's a private corporation. Do you have a right to walk into McDonald's and cause a scene? Do you have a right to walk into, Delta Airlines, to their corporate offices? We don't. We have no business being in those places. So they feed us a bill of goods that these are our places. These are your municipalities. And it's baloney. And they've been feeding us this for generations, and we've all believed it. And it's really time that we all start understanding that we are living in upside down world in the truest sense of the word. Everything that we've been told our entire lives, everything our parents were told and everything our grandparents were told is a lie, is an absolute lie.
So in that thought process, so all of us that are going to school deliberatives and school board meetings thinking, because now that you've said that, I'm like, oh,
right.
The schools aren't, well, maybe they are because they take our property taxes directly from us to pay for the schools, so I'm not sure.
But the boards are corporatized and so aren't the schools. So they're not sworn. They take an oath, and it's supposed to be sworn to we the people, but they're not. And so we have to fight them back with the implied oath because they're masquerading around as our officials, but they're not. They are sworn to their private corporate charter. And that's why a lot of the constitutions have been rewritten like 16 times.
Right.
And so people don't realize that the organic constitutions aren't even, I mean, you can hardly find them.
Right.
You know, they're so buried.
They've changed a word here. We have a constitutional scholar here, Daniel Richard, and he's got 4 or 5 cases that he's going after them for, where he's gone back into the archives and from the very beginning, and he's tracked where they started, oops, they just took a word out, or oops, they took a sentence out, or they flipped a few things around, and it was never voted on by we the people. They just said, it's sort of like, yes, no, when you're voting, but there's 6 things in there. So you don't know whether you're saying yes or no to A, B, C, D, E.
Right. It's all trickery. It's contracts, you know, the cons. And they con us all the time. You know, the birth certificate, you're really signing your children over to the state to become wards of the state. We don't know that. You know, in order for any contract to be valid, you need to have both a meeting of the minds. Both parties need to understand what they're signing. And if you have, what parent would sign their child over to the state? None. You know, and then they give you no choice. You know, if you don't have you know, social security number and a birth certificate, you can't register your child for school, and the kids have to go to school. You know, that's a law. So they give you no choice. So they force you into these contracts. When you sign up to vote, you sign, that's when you agree to pay taxes. In our charters of freedom, you only have to pay taxes if you're within the 10 square mile area of DC. You know, you're not, I'm not. But we all pay taxes because we volunteered for it. So what it's time for everyone to do is to really get an education and understand how we've been duped, undermined, and usurped, and to know that every single office, those are corporate employees, and they're not sworn to us. They've corporatized the United States of America. Originally, we were the United States for America, and they do all of the wordplay, and we don't know any better. So a lot of this information has been lost for generations, and we have, in the People's Operation Restoration, we gathered some of the most learned and well-studied scholars in common law in the nation. And we brought them together into a think tank to produce some of the best paperwork and to come up with the best means of you know, fighting back and getting these foreign invaders out of our, you know, public servant offices. And that's what they are. And these
lives.
Yes, oh, absolutely. And they need to be, you know, we need to have trials for these people, and there needs to be some harsh punishment coming, and accountability for what they've done to we the people. It is a disgrace. Our children have been murdered. You know, there's been genocide. You know, we've been duped. We've been enslaved, you know, with all these taxes, and you got to license your dog, and you got to register your car. And I mean, and when you add up how much money we make and what they take more than half of our pay. And when we used to hear about this, I laugh about it now, and I used to joke about what it would be like to live in, you know, Switzerland or any of those countries that take half your pay, but you get free housing and free medical. And I used to think, my gosh, can you imagine having half of your pay taken? But when you look at what's happening to us now, it's more than that. I mean, everything is taxed. So, you know, and the bottom line to all of it, and the root of all the evil, is lawyers and courts. And lawyers have caused a lot of problems in this country. And of course, most lawyers become politicians, or a lot of them do. If you go into the Senate and the Congress, most of them in there are, you know, attorneys.
I was going to ask you that if you know, I had looked into that. I'm like, this one's an attorney, this one's an attorney. Actually, they're attorney, and every one of them. And I'm like, but I thought the original Constitution that you're not allowed to be an attorney.
Can't be a squire.
Isn't there a maxim? I'd have to ask Ron, but isn't there a maxim where you can't hold two offices or 2 positions? So they're a lawyer and they're a senator, they're a lawyer and they're a congressman. It seems to me that, you know, talk about a stacked deck. I feel like every time I go to a school deliberative, you know, we've got these moderators and we've got these school boards. They're up on the stage. They've got these desks and these roll-around chairs, and you crawl up to the microphone and
beg for help. Beg. Yeah.
Hey, I found this problem. So, you know all these porno books where they're having anal sex and all this other stuff that, the actual writers of these books said they're not for anybody under 18. Well, the Librarian Guild and the Librarians Union. I'm sorry, did I elect them? now we're finding out that some of us are understanding this, but the connection hasn't been made. I've just, since that meeting, and Ron and everybody else, Daniel, that we still have a divide, that we're right what we're saying, but as you just so eloquently explained, is that they're a corporation, and those buildings that they take and steal our taxes for, they own. So we're going in there thinking, okay, we're going to hold them to the Constitution and their oath, and we can't, because it's not our Constitution, and it's not, they didn't do an oath to us.
It's their corporate charter. It's their corporate charter, and they can do whatever the heck they want. My advice, if I had children right now, I wouldn't have my kids in school. My advice would be every mother should take their kids out of schools. And mothers, and I've talked to a lot of women all over the country. I've traveled back and forth across the country many times. And there's a lot of women that are getting really clever, and women that need to earn still. And what they're doing is, moms in neighborhoods now are getting together, and they are forming homeschooling, but it's like, there's 8 kids, and okay, we're going to, Monday, Jocelyn, you're going to take all 8 kids and you're teaching English on Monday. Okay. And then you take the kids to the park and they play, and you feed them lunch and all of that. And these are kids right in your neighborhood, your friends' kids. And then on Tuesday, I got the kids and I'm teaching them art. I do art class, and so you got 5 moms that all teach the subjects, and it's just 2 hours a day. And then the kids you can take them to a museum, you can enrich them in other ways. And so, as always, women find ways around things, and they join together, and they do what needs to be done for the greater good of the children. And women are doing it again. And, throughout this whole fight since 2020, the freedom fighting machine that we've all become, the women have led the way this entire time. And we need our men behind us. But this is going to get me to our case and what's happened, but men have been broken. And I believe it was deliberate, the breakdown of the family and the punishing, financial burden on men, and the breakdown of the family where women are earning, and I don't need you, get out of my face. And women have been masculinized, men have been feminized, and the children are now owned by the states. Right. And this should terrify every single parent. Your children are owned by the state. They can come in and take your kids with CPS at any time. And CPS is they traffic children. I mean, that is a child trafficking machine, and it's covered up by these courts, these Article 3, or not Article 3, these administrative courts that are unconstitutional. And we should get a ruling on this by the Supreme Court in June. I don't know if you know about this. Their final arguments were heard November 29th, and it was a SEC case held in the Fifth Circuit. And it was basically about these administrative courts being completely unconstitutional and enforcing statutes and codes that have nothing to do with the Constitution, in fact, are repugnant to the state and national constitutions, and they're enforcing these, and they can't. And if they're going to take your property, you got to have a trial by peers. And no one's granted a trial by peers in any of these admin courts, and they're not courts of record. You want a record of your case, after they just took your property, you can't get it.
Right, you need to do
your word against them.
Yep. I found out with a grand jury a number of years ago, I got assaulted. There was a big case. And so I ended up that I finally got a lawyer after 26 lawyers that took the case. And we had a grand jury. And it wasn't anything that was in the Constitution. It wasn't anything in the book. It didn't run any way that they would say. The prosecutor told them everything, told them what to investigate, told them what the evidence was. And it's supposed to be, originally it was, that it was, like you said, a jury by your peers, and that you, from your town, that the people that said, I'll be a jury for a year, that they would say to they don't talk to the prosecutor. They would say to the judge, I want this information, this. They decide what they investigate. They decide what evidence they want. And then they go through the whole process. If they want to subpoena someone, that was the only job that the judge could do, was to issue a subpoena to have them come talk to the original grand jury. And then if the grand jury, the people, the peers of the town, decided that they wanted to, that there was a crime, that they wanted to charge this person, then they would go to the prosecutor and go, here, Mr. Prosecutor, here's the evidence, here's our investigation, here's the subpoenas, here's the this, the this, the this, go to it. Mm-hmm. That's how it worked. Well, not now. The prosecutor decides everything, and the judge is telling, you can do this, you can't do that, you can do. It's so backwards, it's insane. And I actually experienced it, and I'm telling you, it's the scariest thing in the world because there's no justice. So explain to us, we got about 3 minutes, explain to us how Operation Restoration, I've got some feedback, I'm not sure why Operation Restoration, how that's going to help us, how we can get people educated, and how they can reach out and find out more about it from you.
Sure. It's the peoplesoperationrestoration.com. And we have 8 other countries involved. Common law applies everywhere. Everyone needs to get educated now. We have been dumbed down and information hidden from us for generations. And the only way to combat this is with knowledge. Knowledge is power, as they've always said. We need to know who our enemy is, and we need to know how to take them out. So we have been invaded, essentially, and we need to get these foreign invaders out. They are not our public servants. We need to restand our republics. In 1871, President Lincoln knew what they were doing. He knew they were corporatizing everything. They put up counterfeits right next to the real, the republic, and they put up a counterfeit. And then, time goes by and we think the counterfeit is the real government, but it's not. So he put the original 35 republics in a trust, and a trust can't fail for lack of a trustee. So those republics are still there, and we just need to restand them. We give 99% of our attention to the de facto fake, false, phony government, and we have to stop. So we need to get educated, and we are working with Ron Bouchard, who I know you have on your show regularly. I love Ron. And we are referring everyone to Common Law Academy, and there's many other schools. You can go on our website under the education tab. There's self-teaching tools. There's, schools to join, and we're going to be, and on Ron's site, there's paperwork. We'll have paperwork on our site, and then we're recommending other, there'll be other places that have the paperwork. Serve your lawyers, serve the judges, serve, police officers. We have to serve school boards, county boards, mayors. We have to tell them, we see you. We know who you are. You are not sworn to we the people, and you don't belong. You have no jurisdiction over us as living men and women. Corporations have no jurisdiction over you at all. And so we have to know who we are so we can know who they are. And we have to stand in our power and our sovereignty and on our founding documents. And that is what the WEF, I think, is the most afraid of. It is America, it is the middle class, and it is our charters of freedom. No other country has that, and that's what we need to awaken. We need the Maine to awaken right now. We need middle class America to stop watching Netflix, stop watching Monday Night Football, and just to start opening some books and studying and taking some action, because this is war, and we are about to lose our country, and you will have nothing. If you think you're uncomfortable now and don't have time, they're going to take your bank accounts, they will take your homes. It's me and my husband today. It's going to be all of you tomorrow. And it's time for all of us to roll up our sleeves and take our country back peacefully, but firmly.
Firmly. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on my show. And I'd love to have you and anybody else. This is something we need to get out to everyone. So I want to thank you. God bless you. And thanks for sharing this information. And we put it up what the website is. So we'll encourage everybody to go to the website, check it out, and find where you can be in your own state. And if there's nothing in your state, go to the academy and start learning, and go to People's Operation Restoration. Yes. Thank you, Maureen. And I hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you. And sign up for the Army of Light on our site, everyone.
Army of Light. Absolutely. Thanks, Maureen.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Have a good night.
You too.